There is no better cigar in the morning than a Connecticut Shade. Well, really, any cigar in the morning is good, but Connecticut Shade is one of our favorites here on the show. So this episode, we'll talk about Will and I's top 5 Connecticut wrap cigars. So stay tuned. This is a Security Weekly production. Havana Cigar Club, located in Warwick, Rhode Island, is a great place to enjoy a drink and a cigar. Stogie Geeks listeners can find a $5 off coupon on our website by clicking the HCC logo. Welcome, everyone, to Stogie Geek Shorts. I'm your host, Paul Asadorian, broadcasting live from G-Unit Studios in Rhode Island. On the lines via Skype from an undisclosed location is none other than Will Cooper. Welcome, Will.
Hey, Paul, I'm real excited to do this segment that we have today because this is one I think that it's close, especially to your heart, because I believe as far as reviewing Connecticut Shade cigars go, you are the premier authority out there on this.
There's a reason behind that. It kind of ties into my diet, right? I try and watch my diet, so I don't eat a very big breakfast all the time, and I don't eat a really big lunch all the time. So I want to maximize my time reviewing cigars in that time period, and I tend to reach for Connecticut cigars because they're just milder in strength and in nicotine, and I can smoke them without getting nicotine sickness. I tend to save my heavier cigars for later in the day after I have lunch or dinner, which puts them, in a different spot in the review cycle. So I tend to review more mild to medium cigars, and a lot of those happen to be Connecticut Shades. And over time, I've built up some of my favorites, and it's interesting how those favorites have changed. Sometimes because a manufacturer got bought out, the blender left, and it changed hands or whatever. So my list today, I put this as the 2016 edition because this is an updated list from both Will and myself about our top Connecticut Smokes.
Yeah, Paul, and I think that's a good point that, what's maybe our top 5 now, it's going to change over time as new cigars come out, as well as vintages of tobaccos change.
Absolutely. So, Will, why don't you run through your top 5 to kick us off?
Well, I started off with a cigar from, and it is one of our sponsors, but it is a cigar I really have come to enjoy, and it's the M. Bombay Casera in the Toro with the shaggy foot. Now, this cigar is made by M. Bombay, and it's produced out of Costa Rica. It features an Ecuadorian Connecticut Desflorado, which is a hybrid wrapper. And it's got Ecuadorian Havana bind go in the filler. And I think that Peruvian factor is kind of like the secret ingredient in this thing, because what it does is it creates some really unique notes. There's almost like, I want to say, a little bit of an evergreen note to this cigar, but you still get some of the, I still think you get some of the creamy notes and woody notes. I just love it, especially with that brush foot. That it's not a harsh brush foot; it burns beautiful.
Yeah, that's a great choice, Will. I need to smoke more of those. I think part of the problem is that my list is somewhat tuned to what is readily available here and to me. And I probably need to do some more online ordering or get people to send us some different. I mean, Mel does send us, but I smoke one or two and then they're gone, and not to be forgotten about. Which is why I'm glad you had them on your list.
Yeah, no, it's a very I agree. I agree with you on that. And sometimes that factors into it. My next cigar is one that's more available probably to you than me, but I still have access to it, and it's a J. Grotto Silk Lancero. And I almost put the Petit Corona on it, but I kind of go back between the Petit Corona and the Lancero.
I had the same thing in my honorable mentions, Will. It's a toss-up, but the Lancero and the Petit Corona to me are just on point. I just think it's a time thing for me. If I have more time, I'll smoke a Lancero. If I have less time, I'll smoke a Petit Corona. I think they're equally as good and both at least box-worthy, if not better.
No, and I totally agree. And I just think it's very hard to get a Connecticut Shade Lancero.
Yeah.
And Paul Joyle knocked it out of the park. I know he worked with Ralph Montero at Races Cubanas. They knocked it out of the park with that Lancero. And I know it's a big hit for him in the store as well.
Absolutely. Number 3, Will?
I I have a couple of cigars from Casada, and I think I'm a big Casada person.
Mm.
The first one I'll talk about is the Casada Reserva Privado Robusto. Say that real fast. The key with that cigar is it contains some tobacco in both the binder and the filler from a 1997 vintage. That literally Manuel Casada put that aside back in 1997, and I just feel what they did is to kind of, because it's aged tobacco, to amp up the blend, they put a little bit of that Pennsylvania Lajero in it, and then of course they wrapped it up with a Connecticut seed wrapper. Now the funny thing is, I didn't know we were doing a Connecticut show today.
Mm-hmm.
I'm smoking the Oscuro counterpart in that, so
Oh,
I'm not
nice.
smoking the Connecticut.
Nice.
Yeah, I was prepared for this, but that being said, great cigar. It's got a great balanced cigar. I think it's a little more on the medium side in a way, because that Pennsylvania Lajero does amp it up a bit, but it's not going to overpower you. Overall, I loved it. I had it as actually a Chuck Norris cigar in my book. It's a very good cigar.
Awesome. Number 4?
Number 4 is actually I have 3 from Casada, but I'll mention with the third one. The next one is the Casada 40th Anniversary Corona Classica, which was the special Connecticut shade cigar that was done by Manuel Casada himself for the 40th anniversary line. I think that Corona Classica size, which is a 6.5 by 46, perfect for this particular blend. It's, in my opinion, it just all the flavors you get wonderful natural tobacco notes, some raw sugar cane. It's got a little bit of black pepper, and yet it's still kind of, I think, has some traditional Connecticut shade notes on there. I actually still have this as an Oasis cigar in my book. It's one that's a harder cigar to get.
Yeah, because that size, Will, was the only one with a Connecticut wrapper. Because the 40th anniversary, that's not a Connecticut wrapper, is it?
Well, they actually did release a Petit Bellicoso. Well, I know while you were out, I talked about it on one of the shows. But the Petit Bellicoso was good, but not with the Corona Classica. And that only went to one store in California, that Petit Bellicoso.
But the rest of the line is not Connecticut wrapper.
It's San Andreas Maduro.
Okay.
Yep. And the final one was the Joel Sherman 75th anniversary.
Oh, that is a Connecticut wrapper on there.
It is a Connecticut, yeah. It was my cigar of the year a couple of years ago, and for folks who say online media, bloggers, whatever, don't talk about Connecticut shade and they don't rank them high, this was a cigar of the year. Incredible cigar. It's unbelievably complex. We've talked a lot about it. It's the kind of cigar you want to sit back and savor and enjoy as you smoke it. Oasis level smoke all the way.
Fantastic.
Yep. And I have a couple things, but you had them both on your list, so we'll get to that when we go through your list.
Sure. Yeah. And this is in no particular order. And my list definitely represents ones that are readily available. I tried to stick to regular production as best I could. So these are readily available Connecticut's that garner my top 5 list. And I'll talk about some of the other ones that might be a little more limited. The first one for me is a EP Carrillo New Wave Reserva Connecticut Toro. I think I'm on my 3rd box of these. I just love smoking this cigar. It's got a little extra punch in the Connecticut. It's a stronger Connecticut, but it's not over the top with spice and pepper. It's very smooth and creamy and tons of flavor. Awesome cigar. The next one also comes from
It's an honorable mention on my book too.
Yeah, definitely. So the next one also comes from Ernesto Perez Carrillo, and this is Ernesto's Humidor Number 1 Edition Connecticut 2015. And this cigar is just amazing. It has so much body for a Connecticut shade cigar and such a unique flavor profile that I bought the Ernesto's Humidor and I've smoked through, I think I'm completely out of the Connecticut's. And so what you do when that happens is you can order a refill for your Humidor and order a bundle of, I believe, 10 or 15. I forget how many come in the Humidor. And you can order an additional bundle. So I'm replenishing that supply. I'm actually smoking from that same Humidor, the Colorado, which is a fantastic cigar as well. I'd say that one's easily box worthy as well. Have you smoked the Ernesto's Humidor stuff? You've smoked the Colorado, Will, right?
I've smoked all 3 of them, yeah. I've actually haven't reviewed the Maduro yet, but I've been real impressed with those cigars. I think they're aging real well. I actually do want to eventually get one of those humidors. I know some retailers that have them, and I actually got to see it for the first time in person since the trade show, and I forgot how stunning that presentation is with that
Yeah,
cigar.
yeah, it's really awesome.
Yeah.
The next one we've talked about on the show a lot, AJ Fernandez, New World Connecticut Corona Gorda. Great morning cigar. Another one that has just so much body to it and so much flavor. This particular size just really knocked it out of the park for me. I'm on my second or third box of these as well, if you're counting at home. So what I buy boxes of.
Paul, with
Yeah.
that cigar, I think the one thing that's different about the others on your list is that's a U.S. Connecticut shade wrapper. And
Yeah,
I
that's a
think
great point.
AJ really, yeah. So I tend to find that the Ecuadorian Connecticut's a little sweeter, doesn't have as much bitterness, but what AJ did with that cigar in that size, fantastic.
Number 4 is kind of a one we don't talk about as much as we should, and that's from Wilson Adams. Wilson Adams. It's a black label number 4. This is a Toro size cigar in a Connecticut shade, and it's just a unique flavor profile in this cigar. Very smooth and creamy, and one that I need to go seek out and get my hands on a box of these because I enjoyed this cigar so much. It is absolutely box worthy and one of my favorite Connecticut's that I smoked lately. Probably one of the ones like outside of the larger manufacturers. Wilson Adams is a smaller, more boutique company, and I just think that he did a great job with this Connecticut.
Paul, yeah, that was an honorable mention on mine as well. Actually, I didn't write it down as an honorable mention, but it really should be, as well as the AJ Fernandez Corona Gorda, which was an honorable mention. It's a great cigar. Wilson Adams is more of a Western cigar in the Western U.S. I would love to see it more. I think we got to get actually we got Brandon Wilson back on the show to talk about what he did with that blend, because there's a lot in that blend that it just wasn't your cookie cutter Connecticut by any means.
Yeah.
It had a little more. It had a little more pop to it, from what I remember.
It did, yeah. And like I said, it had these unique flavors, so it doesn't surprise me. There's some special things going on in that blend.
Yep.
To round out my list is the Avo Classic number 3. Now I have a link to the Tubo, but you can get these in the non-Tubo as well. It's essentially a Toro-sized cigar. Is it a Toro or a Churchill? Now I'm questioning myself.
I think it's a Toro.
I think it's a Toro too, and I think you can get this. I'm sure I've had it in the Tubo and not in the Tubo as well. I've had this with age on it, and I think that's one of the reasons why it comes up on my list. Again, this is a cigar you can get pretty much anywhere.
Oh, I'll correct. That's a Churchill, 7.5 by 50.
It is a Churchill?
My mistake.
Okay.
It is a Churchill. Yep.
I may have had a box of the Toro as well. With some age on it. So either one is a great choice. It's a great morning cigar. And again, this is one you can age, which is kind of interesting. You don't think of aging Connecticut cigars, but this is certainly one that does really well with age.
I agree, and it's just quintessential Avo is what I'll say about that cigar. Really is.
Yeah, and it's got a little bit of that herbal component, which is nice to kind of break up your morning smoke rotation, in my opinion.
Totally agree.
Some honorable mentions from me: the Flor de Selva Connecticut Toro by Maya Selva Cigars. Excellent choice.
I love that one too.
Roma Craft and Temperance EC. I like the Petite Corona. I've tried a couple of different sizes in this blend. I really like the Petite Corona. It's a great, quick morning smoke, have with coffee. I think the Petite Corona is the belle of the ball so far for me, and I haven't smoked all of them.
I think that Skip's underrated line.
Yeah,
I really do.
No, I agree. He does a nice job with the Connecticut.
Yep.
Also, the Tatawahe Cabaguan, and most people don't think of Connecticut shade cigars when we think Tatawahe, but the Cabaguan is, especially with age, a very, very good offering. And I want to throw the TIFF in there as well. And I hope that becomes regular production. The different sizes of the TIFF that I've smoked have been just fantastic. And I want to say they did the TIFF right in the short Robusto format as one of
the pudgy.
And then they released it in the Lancero sampler set.
Yep, the Petite Lancero
Petite
size.
Lanceros. And are those the only two sizes?
Those are the only two sizes.
Okay.
And I just got my Skinny Monsters. So I'll probably be talking about that on an upcoming show. But I like TIFF was a misunderstood cigar, I think, with the Pudgies. A lot of people didn't like it, and I thought it was a great cigar.
I think it has a really good flavor punch to it, and it's got this like sweetness component. that really sets it apart. It's good.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you have some more honorable mentions, or we mentioned all of them? Yeah.
Yeah, I think we mentioned all of them. Yep.
Yeah. So, Will, I find it interesting that new media kind of gets a reputation for not reviewing Connecticut cigars. They're not to be overlooked. I think if you're thinking of a Connecticut cigar as something that's super mild with not a lot of body and flavor, you need to try the ones on Will and I's list, and I think you're going to be very pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, and there's a good mix, Paul, of traditional Connecticut's on the list we just went through, as well as some of those more modern ones that try to push the threshold, so to speak, on the boundaries of a Connecticut.
I have one more honorable mention, and that's the Esteban Carreras 211. I like it best in the Toro size, and I tell you what, is in terms of being a very valued price cigar, in terms of the cigar you get for the price, is a tremendous value in that Toro. It's like $6 and change for that Toro. Which puts it a little less expensive than some of the EPC and some of the other ones on the list. And that's often where people will start. And then they say, well, I want to spend a little more money. And then, you put them in the EP Carrillo New Wave Reserva. And it ends up in their regular rotation.
Agree. I mean, good value price, a good quality cigar too.
Absolutely.
Very good quality.
I love smoking that.
Yep.
Excellent. Well, that concludes this edition of Stogie Geeks Shorts. Make sure you tune in to the Stogie Geeks live show every Monday evening, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, stogiegeeks.com/live, and visit cigar-coop.com for all the latest news and reviews. Thanks for watching.